Welcome to the Marvel Cinematic University podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Canton III, and we are here for Fantastic Four First Steps. Can you believe this is the 37th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? It's nuts to believe, but we are here. We're here to discuss that, and I'm also here to discuss patreon.com/MCUniversityPod. You can get our bonus content such as, yes, I'll mention it one more time as we're doing Fantastic Four. Me and Jake went all the way back to the three old Fantastic Four movies, 05, 07, and 2015, that dreaded 2015 movie that I will regret for the rest of my life, but we found a way to make it through. If you're fortunate enough to, and you appreciate us enough to pay $3 to listen to me as angry and animated on a podcast as I've ever been, please do so. And of course, you get the Discord and whatever Jake and I decide to choose next as our film franchise search continues. And of course, the Discord. And if you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. And with that being said, we have a wonderful panel. First, the super producer, Jake Christie. Jake, how are you?
Always excited to talk about a new release. Always excited to talk with this group.
Yes, wonderful. And yes, we have a wonderful group. First and foremost, we leave the key under the mat, and every time he returns, and he always returns, we appreciate him for doing it. Rod, a.k.a. the Black Guy Who Tips. Rod, how you doing, sir?
Good, man. Happy to be here. Celebrate some Fantastic Four with you guys.
Yes, yes. And our wonderful Discord, I would say the leader. She's in a lot of ways, she's the leader of our Discord. Cecelia Alfonso-Stokes. Cecelia, welcome back. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm gonna just kind of sit here avoiding going Fantastic Four this entire episode.
The score is stuck in my head.
Yeah. It's trapped forever.
It's a problem right now. And and returning, old friend of the show, our pal Howard Bryant. Howard, how you doing, sir? Welcome back to the program.
I'm terrific. Thank you for having me. Of course, as Jake was saying offline, I get called for the new releases. We must have a new release, right?
Yes, most certainly.
A big one.
Oh, yeah. This is a big one. Fantastic Four First Steps, directed by Matt Shakman, who previously helmed WandaVision. And first, before we get into any of the particulars of the movie, we always like to discuss the theater experiences of everybody involved. Cecelia, I will start with you. What was your theater experience like for this movie?
Well, we are down in Greenville, South Carolina, visiting family. So I bought tickets to our IMAX theater here, and I went with my son, Henry, who's 8, and my brother and sister-in-law, who haven't been keeping up with the Marvel stuff post-Endgame, and so they were like, I had extra tickets if people couldn't come, and so I said, you should come with us. They said, we haven't kept up, can we come? And I was like, actually, yes, this is one that you can absolutely come in on. You're all good. And it was a blast. It was one of the fan event ones, and people were like cheering and clapping and hooping and hollering. And when there were some jump scares, people gasped. It was awesome. So I was really happy to see a really enthusiastic crowd there, and it always just makes it more fun when you're just watching it with a bunch of uber nerds like yourself.
Yes, when the energy is good, it's always good. Howard, how about you, sir?
I failed in the mission twice now. In fact, maybe 3 times. And I don't know why I failed in the mission, because I know the mission. And yet I keep failing. The mission is very simple. On opening night, you go to the opening night show. So what have I done for the last 3 films, Superman, Thunderbolts, and this one? I went to a Friday afternoon show. There were 7 of us there. 7.
Damn.
There were 7 of us there. Which is like 3 more than there were for Superman. I think I'm still in like pandemic game. Just keep me away from people. I'm going to the show when there's nobody there. Wow. So there was pretty much zero energy. I took my son and his best friend, which we refer to ourselves as the Brotherhood, because we have seen goodness. If you have, I know you've got young kids, but one of the things that I made sure that I do is that I have a list of all the films that I took my son to the theater. And this was number 95.
Wow.
Yeah, the first one we saw together was April 2010. We saw Toy Story 3,
Mm-hmm.
and I watched him in his 3D glasses, horrified, watching the incinerator scene, and I'm like, holy shit, what have I done to this kid?
In the little booster seats they have
Oh,
for
exactly.
kids.
He's sitting there, and I'm like watching him, and he's frozen, and I'm like, yeah, this is a bad idea. But now, as a newly minted 21-year-old, we sat and watched Fantastic Four together as we did Superman.
Nice stuff. Great stuff. Rod, how about you, sir?
I feel like I was introduced to existentialism in the same way, watching Optimus Prime die in the theater next to my, like, crying. My mom's like, "Oh boy," but I enjoyed it, man. We went on a Thursday, and so we prefer to go Thursday afternoon with that's like the hardest chorus nerds,
Mm-hmm.
and it enables me to be able to be on social media and not feel like every single like tweet is about to spoil
Mhm.
it,
Like,
because
why does everybody know and I don't know?
right,
Mhm.
I don't know, and they argue and they act like the argument isn't the spoil. Like they're like, "Well, I thought this was good." I'm like, "So you're just telling everybody what the damn film was?" Anyway, the
Yes.
crowd was crunk. Everybody wanted to like have a good time. Believe there was still too many damn trailers. I want to say, and the trailers had
Oh,
commercials in them. Like they,
Yo,
29
same note
minutes,
too.
yeah,
the
I
average now.
was like, I was losing my mind. My son and I started looking over. We're like, "What's the next trailer going to be about? Is it going to be cars or is it going to be a drink?"
yes,
And we were
it's
just
ba-
like, that was what we ended up doing.
it was bad enough when it was movie trailers, but I did not think it could get worse. It is actually worse now.
It's
And then
worse.
they do,
horrible.
and I know someone out here thinks this is a great idea because everyone's been doing it in the big movies lately. But let me tell y'all right now, it's a shitty idea. The thing where they fake you out with the, "Hey, it's
Yeah.
time for the movie to start. Wait, one more trailer."
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the trailer is. I was booing Christopher Nolan. Like, man, get the fuck off the screen. It's time for a movie. But
You know, it's whack about that too, Rod. I was just going to say what's really kind of crazy about that was that we have timed it at Cinemark. Cinemark is generally 29 minutes,
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mhm.
So if you get a 5:30 show, the movie's not going to begin until 5:59, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, and that means my popcorn is going to be ice cold by the time the movie
Yeah,
starts
that's
if
the
you
other
get it
part.
early.
Yeah.
So we tried to time it, but on Superman, it was like 19 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah, they get you that way.
So my
Yep.
son missed the first 2 minutes of Superman because he was still
See?
in line.
Oh, missing that
See,
scroll.
they did that to me
Oh.
too, man. Like they
I had to
know we
explain the
on to them.
scroll.
They know
Or
we
the-
know it's
Mhm.
30 minutes, so he's moving it to like 22 sometimes. And they play too much, man. But anyway, that's not what we were talking about, the trailers.
No.
Uh,
I realized I thought you were dumb, and I'm like, oh no, Rod hasn't answered the question.
yeah.
There's plenty of
Anyway,
digressions on this show. It's totally fine.
The audience was super into it. And the like the response afterwards was like I don't know, general joy. Like they didn't stand up and like applaud, but it was like this kind of like, all right, we're on track for something. And
Yeah.
like
Yes.
everyone stayed and watched the trailer, the closing
Mhm.
clips, which is always a good sign of a Marvel movie now.
Which you
'Cause,
have to do.
yeah, because sometimes when they ain't feeling it, you see people leave after that, like
Mhm.
that the credits come on and like fuck this shit. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was dope that everybody stayed.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I saw it with friend of the show Michael Springthorpe on Thursday afternoon at 6 p.m. at the IMAX in Times Square.
Ooh, 2 IMAXs.
What's up?
2 IMAX.
Yeah, I mean, if a movie is shot in IMAX, I try to see it in IMAX just because I'm a snob about that sort of thing. And honestly, with Galactus, it was really cool. Like it was just
It was
so
awesome.
big. He was so big.
Huge.
But it was a really awesome crowd. A lot of people dressed up for it. And the thing that was just really cool about it was that there was like an actual like applause when like exciting things happened. And the vibe was just like it felt. I think the thing about it, which is really cool, is that this is the first time since Spider-Man in 2017 where like a tier 1 Marvel character that people have a long-standing relationship was introduced to the MCU, right? Like that was the thing, because as someone who didn't grow up with the comics or anything, I know intellectually that Fantastic Four is very important, but I don't have the same relationship that some people do. But you can just tell that there are people there who are huge Fantastic Four fans. They're probably big MCU fans, but they're there because they love the Fantastic Four and they want to see the Fantastic Four gotten right. And that energy was something I have not seen in forever. Where it's just like, oh, these people they've had this Fantastic Four T-shirt since 1998. You know,
And the Fantastic Four is an extremely important franchise for all of. You want to talk about where do things originate from?
Exactly.
Right. I mean, between Fantastic Four and Avengers, virtually all the Kirby characters, where they all come from.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I thought the vibe was great, and just, I mean, you know, not to skip to it, but when you get a collective gasp at a post-credit scene, that's how you know the crowd is hot. It's like there was just like, you know, because even honestly, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't even that. I was like, that's pretty cool, but the crowd made me like it a lot more. I'm like, oh, they're really into it.
Yeah, there were screams in my theater, so I was like,
Yeah.
we're cooking.
The vibes were great.
It's also like a good reminder of how much we're into this very insular niche nerd thing that general audiences aren't always like in, like we're over it, like Downey again, really weird.
Yeah.
So now
That's
he's
true.
doing, but like to just the average person, like, oh, it's so fucking cool. I love Robert Downey Jr. or whatever. It's so
Honestly,
good.
that's a great point, because that's what seeing in a cool theater, like a good theater experience, gives me. It's like, is I can be cynical about this stuff because I kind of know how the sausage is made in some ways. Not really, not totally, but I think you're absolutely right that like I can be cynical about Doom in the post credit scene, but the audience isn't, and they're right. I'm wrong. So
Right, yeah.
I appreciate that.
Great level of excitement, great level of energy. I went with my brother this past Saturday. I was initially gonna try and go opening night, but I had them kids that Thursday, so that was out. So I went Saturday, Roosevelt Field, Long Island. Haven't been there in a while, and it's like you realize that mall has changed so much. First of all, but that's a sidebar. But the energy in the movie theater, I was a little wondering because it was Saturday and it was not Thursday, so I wonder how it would be. But packed. Everybody was into it. The energy was great. People clapped at certain things. People yelled at certain things. Especially, obviously, like Jake mentioned, the post credit tag that was pretty cool for everybody involved. I just love when you can tell that people are very excited for a movie and excited for a movie that they could enjoy and it to be good. That like that's what people have been kind of looking for as of late. And as we dive into the actual movie of it all with this, I think that's my general takeaway. I'll just go off the bat and then go with you guys. But my general takeaway from this was I was always concerned about how they were going to fit these characters in. I think of all the conversations that we've had on this show with Howard in the past about like the Kirby characters and the difference between bringing those in the and going into space and Galactus and all this other stuff. How would that look? How would that feel? And just like James Gunn kind of made me feel better during the run to Superman, Matt Shackman made me feel much more comfortable about my feelings coming up to this movie because he talked about how much he loved these characters and how much he wanted to get them over and tell not only a good story but make the visuals look great. And I think that is the biggest thing that I would take away from it besides the relationship family stuff which I really enjoyed. I thought the visuals for this movie were really good. And I think they did a great job with them and it made for a very palatable and enjoyable experience, generally speaking, with the movie. So let's go general first, and then we could dive into the characters because there's a lot to do here. So with this first, Howard, I'm going to start with you. What did you generally think about this movie?
All right, we walked out of the theater,
Mm-hmm.
and my son is usually the one. Every time we get out of the theater, he's like, "Greatest movie I've ever seen."
Mm-hmm.
He gave it a 6.
Okay.
He gave it a 6.5, and I was like, "When did you become the Russian judge? Like, when did you become the hater? Like, what happened?" His best friend Nicholas was 7.5 to 8.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the 7.5 to 8 range.
Okay.
I looked at it this way. The first takeaway I got was, you have to remember we're trying to build something here. That we're building towards something. It gave me a lot of Captain America First Avenger vibes in terms of it's like you are building towards something. This one is not necessarily going to have all it can't give you everything.
Yes.
This is a commitment movie, whereas like it'll all make sense later. It's not one where you could tell that the filmmakers were like, okay, we have to get everything in because we might not get another one. We know there's more coming. So, take it, that way. I sent a message out. It was the first time for me that I thought that the DCU actually may have eclipsed by a hair. That I thought Superman was a little better.
Oh, I think Superman's a lot better, actually. I like Fantastic Four a lot, but I think Superman's great.
Exactly.
Not a hot take. Definitely not a hot take for sure.
First time where I was like, well, wait a minute. Okay, and what does that mean? And now let's talk about why. And so there's a lot of reasons why. I will back away from that. We can talk about that a little bit later. But I felt like you have to go into the film and come out of the film having an understanding of, it's the journey that we always talk about. The director is trying to take you somewhere. And if you decide that you're going to ride with where the director wants to take you, you'll probably enjoy it. If you are wondering constantly what the director's doing, you're probably not going to enjoy it. At the end of the day, I felt like, okay, the thing that this film has to do is it has to get you back into this universe in a way that Eternals didn't, in a way that the whole Phase 5 didn't do. Yeah. It's got to get you looking forward to what's coming next. And I think it succeeded in that.
Yes, I would agree with that. Jake, go ahead. What were your general thoughts?
Well, yeah, because I want to jump off of that. Is that I think the biggest thing it had to do more than anything is it had to sell you on these characters.
Yes.
Because the thing that what we rediscovered when looking at the previous Fantastic Four movies is because obviously the Fantastic Four comics are super popular, but the most popular comic is not as popular as like a middle of the road superhero movie. And so most people's relationship, if they have a relationship with these characters, is through their previous film incarnations. And what we discovered is that those characters are extremely poorly drawn. Like they're, even when it's okay, like they're not very distinct and they don't resemble the actual characters in the comics. They're just like not really successful at that. And so I think what this movie had to do is you had to leave this movie knowing who Sue Storm was, knowing who Johnny Storm was, knowing who Ben Grimm was, knowing who Reed Richards was. And I think in that regard, I think it did, with maybe the exception of Ben, I think it did incredibly well at that. Like I have a full understanding of who these characters are, way more than I did in any previous iteration of it. And I think that the reason why that was really helpful too is that I think as we talk about introducing the characters from the, Kirby Marvel, I think the more space shit you're going to put in the movie, the more tactile the characters have to feel, right? Like you can have like broader characters if it's going to be like street level stuff, but I think if you're going to deal with space and all that, if you want us to keep caring about these characters, you have to make them very specific and very real to life, because if they feel just as broad as the space battles, then we're just watching kids playing with, action figures. And so I felt like the way that these relationships were drawn and the way that like you really understood how these four characters knew each other. And I felt the fact that like you didn't just understand that they knew each other, you learned to understand how they have grown in the 4 years since they became the Fantastic Four. Like the ways that, like the interactions between Ben and Johnny, I found so fun because like it's a little antagonistic, but it's like fun. It's not like them actually hate each other. They kind of have like a almost Ben in some ways is also like an older sibling to Johnny, and those little dynamics, like I think you need to set those up because obviously, as we saw with Infinity War and Endgame, we're not going to have a million hours of screen time with these characters in those movies. We need to know how they relate now, so then we can, just let the orchestra, we can put them into the orchestra of Doomsday and not have to worry about setting up those characters. And so I thought in that was where the movie was most successful to me. I'm not worried about these characterizations. I think that it's like, I think that they cast really well. I'm like, I understand these characters. Yeah. I can guess how they're going to fit in. And so I'm really satisfied in that regard.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Rod, how about you? What did you generally think about this movie?
I really liked it when I left. I think the more I think about it, I feel like it's a great movie, but I'll probably rewatch it a few more times. But it's the subtle stuff that I expected. I thought the MCU might be feeling a little bit desperate, might need to really like put a lot on the screen and really try to wedge these guys into the MCU. Like this is where they are in this lore. And I think it was the deft hand of not doing that. Like, it's just like, until you see the very like middle credit scenes, forgot about there's a bunch of other stuff that's supposed to happen. I was just like, what, is this family gonna be able to save their baby? Like that's as far as I was thinking. And they didn't even go too far as like there's not like a ton of action in here. There's some of the most subtle smart stuff is like Reed Richards taking care of all the crime in the city in the background and just like revealing it, just like, oh yeah, and the baby's coming, so 47 criminal organizations are done. Like it, like showing the brilliance, and then like the portrayals, the acting was so good. Man, what can't Pedro Pascal do, man? I don't
He
know.
shocked me.
Like,
I did not know he had this in him. I didn't know. I thought he was going to be a fine Reed Richards. I didn't know he had this quiet of a performance in him.
bro,
It shocked me.
I feel like every time I see him in something, it's another one. And he's like, bro, you're in everything. How you gonna do this different? And it's like, oh, okay, all right, you found a way. We'll see you next time or whatever. You made me cry as Joel. He's in the fucking second season of Last of Us for 3 seconds. The other thing I thought I liked about it is that it's a movie about nostalgia that isn't about MCU nostalgia.
Yeah.
Like MCU nostalgia is what's been like really like getting us through these other films. It's like, remember this from the first Hulk? You guys saw that, right? Oh, hey, remember how he was also in the other movie? Well, now he's in Ant-Man. Like this one didn't. It was nostalgia of like, remember a simpler time. And the joke I made with my wife when we left was like, I feel like this Earth didn't have American slavery. Like whatever, like the way this society works, where they're just like, the hero said they'll do it. Why wouldn't they? like I don't think the president comes up once in this movie. Like there's, they don't even really have allegories in the movie that are like comparative to like, like with the X-Men, it's like this kind of feels like LGBTQ issues or like racism. This just felt like a world was like, it's a meritocracy. We're all on the same team. Why would a hero lie to us? Yeah, don't get rid of your baby. That's crazy. Like maybe the Earth need to die. Like it was a different vibe of people compared to our MCU, which has really been about taking what if superheroes came into the world as we know it, with all the problems of this world, and how would they operate in that world? This world seemed to have way less problems than our world, and I think maybe that's why it was almost like a change of pace.
Yeah, no, Cecelia, go ahead.
No, that was it, man.
Oh, no.
Yes, you jump right in. Jump right in.
Yeah, I think. Okay, Brad, you sent me off on a bunch of different thoughts there. So generally speaking, I had a really good time. I did leave it feeling like that I still was chewing on it a little bit. I needed to like sit with it a little bit more. I think that what everyone has said about, especially like the characters and dynamics that were established, those were done so well almost immediately. It's a very like, I come from a family, I have 4 younger siblings, and so like it has that very sibling and also found family vibe where like whose role it is when so and so's in a mood. You need this person to tap in and do the thing, and I thought that was really, really seamless. I think kind of like the Superman movie, it also moving into a different universe or having it in a different world, and just kind of like plopping you there, what it made it kind of feel like if there were kind of things that I had questions about, it's sort of like magic rules where it's like, oh, it's a different world, so maybe that's just how they do things there. Like it's a lot, you're able to forgive a lot because you're like, there might just be something I don't know, and I think that makes it fun. I think that as far as like the aesthetics go, the aesthetics are like maybe the strongest thing about the whole film, and that is the Matt Shakman. Like I am so glad that kind of like WandaVision vision was able to come through here, for a franchise and like a general media that tends to not know what to do with women characters. Like I was like, Matt Shakman, you're doing pretty good right now. You're 2 for 2 with Wanda and with Sue Storm. Sue Storm, I was like in love with her immediately. I think my biggest takeaway was I would sell a piece of my soul for that suit because I think it's awesome. I loved her. I was like, you look hot, I would look hot. We should all look hot together in these awesome suits. Yeah, I am really excited about the direction that it's setting us up to. Um and then yeah, just seeing them, I do feel like they handle these characters with care
Yes.
and respect. And I
Yeah.
think that's probably like the what a lot of people have been taking away from it is it just feels like, oh, someone finally respected these characters enough to not be like, what if we did the 2015 version of
Oh
them?
god. Ooh.
Like just doing this whole kind of retro futuristic thing,
Yeah.
and that is like, I was like, this feels like a Fantastic Four movie, and
Mhm.
currently that doesn't exist, but now it exists in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
solid.
I'm actually a dissenter on a lot of this.
All right, talk to me.
And part of the reason I'm a dissenter is because I'm the oldest. And
Hashtag
I was
Washington.
telling my son about this, about how um, everybody, if you come from the comics, sorry, Jake, if you come from the comics, you remember how much the comic book cost when you first started buying comics, for two reasons. One, you knew how much they cost because you wanted them, but also it gave those collector's items, it gave the old ones so much more gravitas. The Fantastic Four is the first one. 10 cents, Fantastic Four number one. The rest of them are 12 cents. So when you got a fantastic, if you saw one of those, like when you were open up the comics and you could see like the back issues and trying to go to Mile High Comics or find all these different places that had back issues, Fantastic Four 1 was a 10-cent comic. And that separated them from everything else already because they were, 1961. And so for me, when it came to character development, the very first thing that I was looking for was, what are they going to tell us about each other? How are they going to sell us? Are they going to, and also one other quick thing about that before I get into this was I had a bootleg copy. One of my friends worked at Fox, I think. I had a bootleg copy of the '05 movie from 1994, the one that never got released.
Oh.
So I remember watching that thing and it never came out.
Wow.
I remember we were sitting there thinking, when is this? And it never came out. And so we've been waiting for the Fantastic Four for a long time. And one of the reasons why the Fantastic Four is such an interesting and difficult story to tell is because they don't exist anymore. Like they went out, even when I was in high school, I think She-Hulk had joined them. Like they had already fallen apart as the comic book that you used to know. They felt old when I was young, right? They were running out of steam and then they got discontinued. They got discontinued before '98, I think. So trying to make them trying to bring them up. I'm like, how are you going to take a comic book? The Fantastic Four almost falls into the public domain, like the Green Hornet or Johnny Quest or something, because they don't have the same foundation that Spider-Man is still active, right? The Fantastic Four feels like something that doesn't exist anymore, like Flash Gordon or something. So how are you going to make this into something contemporary? And so the first thing that I was watching for was, okay, are we going to be true to the actual tension of these characters? And the tension of the characters is that Reed Richards took his family into space, and one of them, his best friend, turned into a monster.
Yeah.
And that is Reed's burden, to make you human again. And I'll never forgive you. What did he say? I will spend the rest of my life to make you human again. And so, and one of them, Johnny, at the time, was a high school kid, which is why he was in so much rivalry with Peter Parker. He got the cool he got the cool stuff. He's like, I love this. I'm John, one is a thing and the other one is a heartthrob. And so you had all of this tension between all of them. And they took that away, and they instead went with a much more modern tension, which was Reed Richards and his wife. And are you going to be a father, or are you going to be a scientist? Are you going to protect us, or are you going to be a scientist? And I thought that was very effective. I thought that was very interesting. But I certainly was waiting for a certain level of performance. This was a much more ensemble cast performance, and I also realized that we've been spoiled. Who knew Chris Evans was going to be what he turned out to be? Who knew that Chris Hemsworth was going to turn out to be so give these guys time to maybe turn into something.
Yeah.
But at the, for the film itself, I felt like they did a much, much better. I thought that their success was more as a group, but we don't quite know who they are as a family yet.
Mhm.
But um, but I was giving them the benefit of the doubt because it felt big. It felt like it was on the right track.
I'm
I
glad you
think
made that point. Before you go, Rod, let me just say I'm glad you made that point about like the ensemble cast and how that works, because I think when Jake mentioned earlier about the quiet Reed Richards, there is this level that I feel like he's going to get to, but they didn't need to go there just yet. You saw the imprint of it in his arguments with Sue and what that looked like. And him even acknowledging that, hey, there is something wrong with me. At least he feels that way. And him talking to his son and saying, I don't want you to be like me at all. He knows that this part of him exists. And it just hasn't come to the forefront yet. You bring him into a situation like what's coming up with Doomsday Secret Wars, that version of the character could grow into that. And I like that they teased it as opposed to giving it to us right off the bat with that. And seeing Sue react to him in that way shows how genuine their relationship was. And
Oh yeah, the I know you.
yes,
Like I know when she kept saying, I know you. In other words, you can't fool me. And I know that you have already thought about these contingencies that may actually sacrifice us.
yes.
Mhm.
And that part of it was really, really good. So it's always interesting to see how, because we remember how Tony Stark starts, his arc starts in the MCU, and then we get these kind of pivot points, like in Avengers when he meets with Cap, and Cap says, "Hey, you're not going to sacrifice anything." And what ends up happening all those years
Yeah,
later,
that you end up.
he ends up doing it. So like that's where I love that there is like kind of the inkling, but at least they didn't give everything as of yet. But Rod, what did you want to say?
I was gonna say, I think with how it first started, when he talked about how this movie felt like everyone knew they were coming back. I think that's one of the privileges of working in the MCU and getting some pull, is that unlike other directors, you're not like, we need to slam everything. Like, you can feel it in the other Fantastic Four movies. It's like, part of the reason they're all over the place because it's like they had to get it in. They were like, I don't know, like
Yeah.
maybe we'll
Are
get
we
a
getting
sequel.
another one?
Yeah, and this one felt like, and I think that's the, I'm a big fan of that. Obviously as a person that got paid to write for a while, big fan of like writers that know they coming back. So like, let's make it hurt, let's make it hit, let's get to love them first, or get to see like the little tensions, and then we'll break it into bigger things. So I was kind of into that, but and then the other thing is, much like Superman and to a lesser degree even that Batman film from a couple years ago, I'm kind of into these new directors going, you came to the movies because you do kind of know. Like, we don't need to see Peter get bit by the spider and Uncle Ben die
Yeah.
every damn time. And when you have had 3 cracks at Fantastic Four, I see why these directors are like, let's just like, they've been heroes. Here's a 2-minute summarization at the beginning, and then you are watching them be the archetypes that you mostly think. We're not gonna give you like all of Ben Grimm's depression and lonely. We're gonna give you a little bit. Like, you know it enough to know that when you see that man pick up the car for the kids, he's a little going through the motions. And when you see him look at that woman, he's a little longing for his humanity. When you see him look at his reflection, we're not gonna give him a room alone, dark, mad at Johnny. We're not gonna give you all that because you've seen it. And so, and like, it can be a negative or a positive, but Superman hit me the same way, where it's like, no, it's just a world with Green Lanterns. You don't need to know he does the fucking thing every time, and then he has
Yeah.
to like charge it. Like,
And how
that's
he
not
came
what
to
we're
be
here
and
for.
everything.
We want you to feel like this is a lived-in world, and I thought that's what they really nailed. Was this felt like a world where the Fantastic Four existed. They were the lone heroes of this world, and they had saved everyone countless times, and they were fucking friends with the mole man. That's how far down the road they were. They weren't fighting
Yeah.
him anymore. That was the homie. So it just felt like
Well,
these people existed in a way that I think a lot of MCU origin fans can't do, because it has to be like, how does he know Captain America? We didn't even have to worry about that.
yeah. But one of the things that's also very interesting about this film as well is that, and it's a difficult thing. It's what they're not all cookie cutters. The reason why the Fantastic Four is such a difficult ask isn't just because they're the oldest and because they've gone through the changes and they got discontinued the first. It's also because, unlike the Avengers and unlike Justice League and some of these the other comics, none of those characters, with the exception of Marvel 2-in-1, none of them had their own comic. They were a family. The Thor had his own comic. Captain America had his own comic. Iron Man had his own comic. Most of those characters, the big characters in the Avengers, the Hulk had his own comic. So they were all individuals. This group has always been a group. And so when you're dealing with the Fantastic Four, it's not even X-Men, where at that's always been an ensemble cast, but Wolverine began to outshine everybody. It became Wolverine and the X-Men, even though Cyclops was the leader. Mm-hmm. And so with this, there's a certain challenge to remind everybody that they are an ensemble cast. They are one group. There's nobody. It's like a band. You're like, nobody went solo and outshined everybody else. They had to stick together, and I thought the movie did a very good job of that, in terms of trying to get you to feel connected to them as one, instead of having to know each individual as individuals, because you don't have to, because they're not individuals, they're a team.
Yes.
Cecelia, you're gearing up to say something?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the other thing that I'm thinking about with this group is that it's also, I mean, obviously a lot of superheroes and superhero comics are very much reliant on, especially the Cold War era, in which a lot of them emerge. But the Fantastic Four is, like, historically speaking, like, so connected to the Cold War era. It's a nuclear family that is also, their nuclei, like, is all falling apart. Yeah. That's how they get their superpowers. There's, like, images in these comics of this teenage boy lighting on fire, while at the exact same time in media, people are seeing overseas in other countries in these Cold War, like, people on fire. The possibility of nuclear fallout and the paranoia that is part of that, as that is sort of like some of the psychological stuff that's woven into these characters as well. The unknowing, like, what we don't know about what nuclear fallout could possibly be. That is all so baked into who this group is, that it actually really does make sense that they would be the first to be canceled, because it's so, like, relying on a particular era. And that's also why I think that the aesthetics of this film, returning to that, is what makes it feel more coherent, that you're kind of able to slip into it. And the commentary on, like, what makes the nuclear family, and what makes the nuclear family, what does it look like when the nuclear family is, like, slightly not quite right, but is trying to be in a scene as such. I think this is the first time that it's actually, like, dealt with those themes. Well, and it does feel unfinished. In a way.
And don't forget that it's Sue who essentially goads them into space in the first place in Fantastic Four number 1. I said, Ben, I didn't know you were, we got to get to space before the commies do. I didn't know you were a coward, Ben. Nobody calls me a coward, and here we go. Let's go into space, right? I mean, it was, I think it's like the third page of Fantastic Four number 1, where they're essentially, it's a Cold War story. One piece of it too that I thought was sort of fascinating as a choice. And I love the fact that they went back, and it is mid-century modern, and it feels like the Ed Sullivan Show and all of that stuff, with flying cars, right? It went, I think you said it best, where it was sort of retro-futuristic. It did it at the exact same time. I wondered about that choice, because I thought it would be a really interesting call to throw us back into a world where there were no superheroes, and they were the first superheroes in the Marvel, universe. And instead, what they did was they gave us, by giving you that first 7 or 8 minutes of retrospective, it established them without having to establish them.
Yeah, it's very important. Very important that I think Rod made the point earlier about, like, we don't need to see the cosmic thing happen. We just want to see these characters and want to see how they develop together and grow together. And Sue Storm was mentioned. I think it's important that we talk about her, because I think Vanessa Kirby did just a fabulous job.
They leveled her up.
Yes.
Because as a kid, it was like, all right, Invisible Girl, when she was back to the Invisible Girl, like, what do you actually do?
Yeah.
Other than being invisible? Like, you're invisible, but you're not liquid. You know what I mean? Like, you can still, if somebody swings in the right direction, they'll
Right.
hit you. You know, it's not like Vision, you know, where you're you're inert. But I you know what's really funny about that was that her character and Wanda's character and Captain Marvel's character, they have absolutely gone the exact opposite of, you know, the female characters back in the early 1960s. They essentially didn't have any power. These women are all powerful. They're the most powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great. It's actually really, really great to see, because you have to deal with them in a way that you didn't have to deal with them. You can't dismiss them.
Right.
And the thing I loved, oh, sorry, I want to give you the floor, Cecelia. I just want to get a quick thought about the powers before we talk about the character. The thing I really liked about the end is the thing that I always struggle with in superhero movies is how you visualize a superhero trying harder. Like, how do you visualize strength on screen? Like, if someone punches harder, the thing I think that they did a really good job of, like, I don't believe that on a normal Tuesday, the Invisible Woman would have the strength to push Galactus. But I believe on this moment where her child was in peril, she was able to, in the way that, like, a person can lift up a car if their
I was
child.
gonna say, it's the car lifting.
And
metaphor.
I liked how that was that was visualized in a way that I believed it. It didn't feel out of nowhere. But Cecelia, I know you have thoughts about Sue Storm. You were talking on the Discord. That's why I asked you on.
Yeah, I 100% agree. There was the whole movie, I was like, this is cool. These people don't seem like they can take down Galactus. Like, their whole plan is to trick him into going into a hole. This feels like kind of low. I don't know. I was not buying it for a second. And then when she, with all of, like, I mean, her mom's strength, but then she has such a great voice, this, like, deep guttural, like, ugh! And I was like, that shit I do believe. I think I could do that if I had to. I mean, like, there is something that she's able to really tap into, and I liked that because, and also, like Wanda, what I really like about these women is that their powers are enhanced because of their experiences as women, and the experiences, like, it's very connected to what it is like to be a woman and have these powers. And I think I really enjoy that because there's a way to be, like, you know, super, you go, oh, well, her being a woman, it doesn't matter. She's just powerful because that's just how she is, and they just gave it to her. It's like, I mean, actually, the experiences that one has in a particular body in the world is going to influence how you, like, do those embodied things. And Sue, I think that part was incredible. I also loved how she was able to, she's sort of like an intermediary for Reed, and I mean a lot of them. I think Ben does the same thing. But she sort of almost has, like, translate him to the others, and there's sort of that, like, mom of the group, oldest daughter of the sort of.
She's also
like,
doing all the public speaking.
She's a big sister.
And she's also doing all the public speaking too.
Exactly. Yeah, she's the voice for them. And people are just like, for sure. Yep, you got it. So
yeah, I thought that was actually the biggest false note of the movie.
What?
Not her being the face of it. I thought that was fine. The piece of it that got me was, you're 100% right. You have to trick Galactus. They can't beat Galactus.
Yeah.
Galactus is the existential threat. The thing that I like best about this movie, and to me, the reason why I didn't give it a 10 or whatever when we were talking about it after the film, was it had me creeping up the roller coaster, which is what you're supposed to do, right? And then it didn't land the plane on the way down.
Okay.
Here's what the movie did as well as anything has done since Infinity War to me. It set up the stakes. The world is gonna end, and there's nothing you can do about it. None of you are strong enough to beat this. Nobody can beat Galactus, you know. And then it fell apart because of three very specific things. Number one, throughout the entire movie, nobody said, "What's a Galactus?" No one had ever seen him. No one knew what he was gonna. Nobody knew what he looked like. The only one who showed any wonder at all was Ben when he goes, "How do you eat a planet?" You know, I mean, so at no point in this movie does a civilian see Galactus, that we don't get to see the wonder of seeing somebody who's
That's a good
100
point.
fucking feet tall.
Good point.
That's a good point.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? Like, can
They
you
got all them
imagine how
folks out of there.
scared to death you would be if you saw somebody that big?
Shout out to
Like the scene where
Subterranean.
he goes to the East River and he's waist high, and he's and he's standing up. That tells you how big he is, and that piece of it, you never got the fear of the existential threat, and they built that threat really, really well. I was like, I hit myself in the elbow. I go, "We got it." I said, "We got it. We're on it. We're on to something, right?" And they built that thing. And then when they come back in after fighting him on Galactus's turf, nobody in the media even said, "What's he look like?"
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
I think that does bring up my biggest general complaint about the movie is that, and I'm not saying this because I know this is true, even though I did find out later it's true. This movie is so clearly missing 15 to 20 minutes.
And I was just about to say that, Jake. I was going to say, when we walked out of there, it felt a little bit like Captain America, Brave New World, where it was like, how many edits did this go through?
I think that this didn't get like the reshoots that did.
It
but
didn't
clearly,
didn't get the
They
Giancarlo
clearly
Esposito.
took stuff out. Yeah.
Based on the fact, one, they took out a whole plot line at the beginning, but John Malkovich playing a character. They cut out John fucking Malkovich, which is crazy. But and there's like there's so much stuff from trailers from the beginning. I think that they really cut out a lot of stuff from the beginning, and I think right after the Galactus first meeting, because the beginning, I think that they cut out a lot of Ben's stuff from the beginning.
Yes.
Because I think he's definitely the character who served the least, which is unfortunate. And then I feel like they definitely cut out stuff like establishing Galactus to the world. And the reason I could tell that it was stuff being cut out is like it being an hour 55 is so suspicious because it's like that means that someone said this needs to be under 2 hours.
Yeah,
and like I'm sorry, like Captain America, Brave New World, or the Thunderbolts, you can say those can be under 2 hours. But the Fantastic Four is 2 hours and 10 minutes. Who cares? Like they're just like I think that you lose a lot by cutting out these moments, especially at the beginning where like you could have more, you could let it breathe more, get some of these character moments, get some more glimpses of the 4 years between them getting the powers and now. But then, like you said, I think that the lack of specificity with Galactus, I can't imagine that was something that they just didn't put in the movie at all. That feels like something that they cut out of the movie. And that feels like, I don't know, I get it, but like I get the intention of being like we want to make this quick, but like the thing about movies feeling too long is a movie that feels too long has almost nothing to do with its actual runtime, it's pacing. So like if your movie's paced well, it can be 2.5 hours and people won't notice.
But
like,
if your movie's too short,
I mean, I've seen 90-minute movies that feel like they're forever. You know what I mean? Like I think that it's really a fool's errand to try to say we need to get this movie under a certain amount of time, and I feel like that's probably what happened. And it makes you feel because like I would say I'm probably like an 8 out of 10 about this movie, and the 2 is like not of things that's in it that I don't like. It's stuff that's not in it that I wish was there.
Yeah, that's right. And to Cecilia's point, I was going to say, Mike, and the third point that I was trying to make is that you and my son was the one who was pissed, right? He's watching this, and when Reed blurts it out, well, what did Galactus want? He wants our child. And he's like, why did you say that to the public? Right? Which I thought, but I said, that's who Reed is.
That's who Reed is, yeah.
That actually makes sense. But where it lost me was when you send Sue Storm out there, she talks to the public about being a mother and taking care of your family and never sacrificing your child. And nobody once said, well, what's so special about this child? You know what I mean? Like,
kind of bought it.
Everybody was like, okay, bet. Like, I wouldn't.
But that goes back to my point that I made earlier. In a world where slavery never happened, I feel like you can do that. Like,
but when they're jogging,
like they didn't have a Nixon administration. Clearly, like they did. These people were so trusting. When they said get out the city, they were like, okay. And he said, where are we going? Underground with the mole man. Okay, bet. Okay. We'll be back.
But when Ben is walking down the street, the two joggers go, we got kids too.
Yeah.
So clearly there's a certain panic that they muted. And all
Mhm.
I could say is they built this thing so well. There were, and it really brought me back to two things. It brought me back to fear.
Mhm.
Like that's what this thing is all about. It's about
Yeah.
fear, and it brought me
Yeah, you
to.
felt it throughout.
It brought me to Banner looking at Tony in Infinity War going, it's Thanos. He's a plague. You're the Hulk and you're scared to death,
Mhm.
Right.
right? He's the plague. He sent Loki. New York, it's him, right? I mean, and that thing was missing when you compare it to one of the great scenes I've ever seen, which is the shadow of Galactus over the entire island of New York,
Mhm.
There's a,
right? That
yeah,
But
there's
I
a
think
ten-
I think
yeah.
also though that like part of what this film was trying to convey was this level of trust in these guys. They have never taken an L and they've never lied to the public. So there's just like
Yep.
this belief that
Yeah.
the public has that could never exist in the MCU. Like as soon as they said it was a different Earth, I was like,
Yeah.
okay,
Well, you know
let's
what
see
that is
how
too,
far
Rod?
are they going to take this difference in this Earth? This Earth is you could go, all of us could go there and be billionaires within a week. Like these are the biggest roofs. They've never seen anything that we've seen. So like there are these moments
so
where
true.
they're clearly unbelievable. Like I mean,
They're
comic
so
books, blah blah
accepting.
blah.
But
But
you
it's
know
like
what that
the people in the movie don't treat them like unbelievable. It's like it is a big man coming to eat the earth, and it's like they were, but what time is he
he
getting
will
here?
protect you.
Crazy.
Yeah. Well, but you brought this up earlier,
Mhm.
and but there's a historical antecedent to it, and you could see throughout the movie there is a message. And I was telling my son about this. I'm like, every Marvel movie or all the movies that you watch, you have to understand the times in which they were made. When you watch Captain Marvel is all about immigration and who the actual real enemy is, and suddenly the Skrulls are sympathetic, and it really is a border patrol story. It's like who actually is the threat. You can feel that. This story is essentially it's an anti-COVID story. It's a we believe you story. It's a World War II story where they even the Uncle Sam Rosie the Riveter images are in this film where it's like we believe in you. And when I say anti-COVID, it's like, okay, Reed Richards and the Fantastic Four say we're going to need a worldwide blackout.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a
And
really
everybody's
good
like,
point. I did
bet.
Yeah.
see that's why
Okay,
Howard gets paid the big bucks.
We're not anti-science. We're pro you.
Pro
Like,
science.
there's no conspiracy theory going, well, wait a minute, right? Everybody is coming together, one goal.
Yes.
Yep.
And it's an anti American division. The divisiveness that is happening in the country right now, they provided a counter to that in the storytelling of this movie.
Yeah, I think that you're getting to something really interesting there about the kind of like utopianism that I do think, especially again historically, this moment talking back to a Cold War moment that was like really wanting to have a utopia, the like nuclear family and stuff. So the utopianism of this world, I think also is what affects. It does affect. I think that Reed was really interesting. The way that Pedro played him was interesting. I had to sit with it for a little bit, but it's almost like, oh, I mean, but we live in a world where Galactus, like, none of these are all fixable things. They all had this kind of attitude, like, this can be fixed. This is fixable.
Yeah.
This is fixable. And then they kind of get to the point where they're like, oh shit, this might not be fixable. And now what do we do? And that's what made me really excited for seeing them again in the future. Because I'm like, what happens when we put them in a world where New York is like destroyed every other day, right? Like where stuff is happening all the time. They show up and they're like, oh my God, what is going on here? I thought you have got a ton of heroes. What's happening? Yeah, I think that's a really good point. It might explain.
I know we were talking about Sue real quick. I just want to throw in a couple thoughts about her and the betrayal.
Yeah,
I know it's been a while, but this film and this family feels more like a family than they are warriors. Like they don't feel like violence is their number
100%.
one.
They're
Like
scientists.
They're scientists.
Yeah,
They're
like-
explorers. Yeah.
right. And
Well,
so
that was also the level up piece of that too, Rod, where they were all smart. They weren't just like Johnny in the comic book. Johnny was along for the ride.
yes.
Johnny's smart. They're all scientists.
That's what I was gonna point out. So her invisible womanness In the past, it felt like this is how we see women, invisible, like the best kind of woman.
Yeah.
This felt like the invisible hand, like the strong, like she was steering the pieces on the
Yes.
board so subtly. Like Johnny, how she knew his insecurity about his own like whatever,
Big
like his
sister.
contribution, and she
Mhm.
big sistered him like, hey, you know what, you do got this.
Mhm.
I trust you. You're gonna come back with something from these recordings, and it's gonna be because you're Johnny
Yeah.
and you and the way that she translated for Reed, but most importantly, Reed don't know how to talk to people.
Yeah.
And
And that's
Poor
right.
buddy.
yeah, and
This
He's a
dude-
scientist.
yes,
He is
and
neurodivergent.
I was gonna say they don't put like a label on it, but Pedro is playing him with some neurodivergence in a way that I think is the right amount. It's not like he's not like a cartoon.
right.
But I thought I really, really love this character, even if it's and I don't know how accurate it is to the comics, but I really love this portrayal because I like that he is someone who clearly is. It's so I think it's really fascinating to see a genius character who is in some ways made miserable by his genius. It is both the thing that has unlocked everything for him, but all of the things that he worries about are because of his brain. That he can learn how to transport things because of his genius, but it also makes it impossible for him to just be happy about having a kid. He can't.
No,
turn that
sounds like
right.
somebody we know.
Exactly. And so I think that the conversation, the scene he has with Franklin, as I think he's just really masterful acting. Because I think I'm thinking about it is you have to keep in mind, like, he's acting against nothing. He's acting against a baby. A baby's not going to give him anything. And I think I really liked about it is the way that in what he's saying and what he's talking about with Sue is about like we need to make sure that Franklin doesn't have or his genes messed up or whatever, that he doesn't. But what he's not actually worried about that. He's worried that Franklin will be like him before the accident.
That's right.
He's worried that he'll have his anxieties. And I think that genre storytelling is always the best when it has some sort of allegory to real life. And while I am not a parent, I do really recognize. I think it's a beautiful thing to recognize is like. Is not the whole stress of being a parent is that there are things you want to import on your child, but there are things about yourself that you desperately don't want to have.
1000%.
And the genetic like issues that they have are merely an allegory for the parts of himself that he doesn't want to pass on. And I think it's just tragic. But the way that he's able to then like come to peace with it by saying like, you'll tell me when you're ready, even if he's not fully there. I just really love how he's like I said, the duality of him being smart, that it both is the thing that has given him everything he's wanted in his life, but all of the things that make him miserable. I mean, it reminds me of one of my favorite lines in movie history in broadcast news, where a character says to Holly Hunter, "You must love being the smartest person in the room," and he says, "No." She says, "No, it's terrible." And I think that he kind of feels that way. That like he wishes for one moment that he could not be the smartest person in the room because it gives him these burdens, it gives him these thoughts. And I don't like that. I really did not think that Pedro Pascal had this performance, this quiet internal performance in him, and I thought that he just like I felt really bad for him. And I think the thing that's so interesting about them living in such a utopian world is you guys are absolutely right. He will not be able to handle the version of the world that doesn't trust him.
He gets the 666.
Yeah.
That's why.
Can we
But
also
back to Sue, as I was saying about Sue was what I was
Our
trying to
ally
talk about.
over here.
I did mention her relationship with Reed, but it's the invisible hand that she's moving the world with. This woman went out there with the goal to protect her child and talk the world down from like, it's just one baby. Like the whole world was like, nah, that's facts. You right. That would be beneath us to sacrifice even one child for the rest of the lives. Let's not even consider it. We're not passing emotion on that shit. You got it. When Mo Man was talking so greasy to them dudes, and she just walked in and was like,
great.
"Hey man, but for real though, like, can you take the people under the earth, man, and stop bullshitting?" And he was like, "You right, Sue. They be getting to me." Like she was like the queen on the chessboard in this whole movie, and it was done deftly. Like they didn't do it the typical like aggressive. I'm yelling at people. I'm ordering. Everyone hates that woman. She's a boss, but she's a cold ice queen. Like she never steps outside of herself. And then when it is time to fuck shit up, she's the one that's like, kill her. And Johnny's like, what? We are scientists. And she is like, she is trying to take your nephew, murk that. And she was the hero.
Has anyone done anything?
I was shocked.
Has anyone done anything harder in any MCU movie than give birth while in a spaceship going around a neutron star, making it invisible?
That's incredible. I mean, deliver the child.
That's pretty dope. That's pretty dope.
Incredible.
Right? And can we also just have a quick moment
to
discuss two interesting points? Point one is we got a lot of brains going on here.
Yeah.
So Reed Richards is being set up as the smartest man in the world, but Tony Stark is also the smartest man of his world. But Doctor Doom is actually, Victor Von Doom noticed that Latveria is the empty chair at the UN, and that let's not forget there's Hank Pym out there who's also supposed to be pretty damn smart, and so is Bruce Banner. So I'm like, there's and Peter Parker's not too bad either, right?
And
so
Shuri. Shuri on top of that.
And Shuri, and let's not forget Shuri in Wakanda, right? So there's a whole lot of brains going on here, and I just wonder how those things are all going to play when it comes to ego. Because when I said to Jake, it sounds like somebody we know. Who's talking about the terrible burden but Tony Stark?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so what? The two, it'll be very interesting to juxtapose those two personalities, and a shame that they'll never meet.
Yeah.
Yes.
At least in it's kind of impossible for them to meet now, because you're going to have Robert Downey Jr. playing two characters. One is dead, right? He's gone. You can't bring him.
He might want to, though. I remember the first thing I said when he got cast as Dr. Doom is the reason he did it is because every actor wants to do They're the Clumps, so he might do it.
Exactly. But the second point is to Rod's point and to Cecilia's point about trust and innocence is the larger piece of storytelling. One of the reasons why Superman had all these problems for all these years is because shout out to the late, great David Lynch. You go to Blue Velvet in 1985, 86, and the message is that everybody's got a dark side. Every town has a dark side. Every person has a dark side. And you think about the storytelling that goes into the 90s, where you break bad instead of going to the authorities, right? You become a meth dealer or trying to fix healthcare, right? Your husband dies, so instead of doing something else, you become a weed dealer. Or if you're Nurse Jackie, you've got a drug problem when you're supposed to be, taking this Hippocratic oath. So the storytelling of the last 40 years, has been anti-hero. It's been Wolverine. Yeah, 100%. Hero who kills. It's Punisher. Hero who kills. It's Deadpool. Hero who kills. And where does that leave your square-jawed hero that you trust? It leaves, there's nowhere to go. That person doesn't exist anymore in this type of storytelling. And so now you have two stories. You have this one and you have Superman, where it appears that we're going back to the square-jawed hero. We need the person that we trust. We need Sue Storm out there saying, okay, you can trust me. You can believe in me. And that was so yesterday. That was so passe. That was so, that was so Pollyanna and so laughed at. Yeah. And now we want it back. Yeah. And you could see it in both of these movies.
So when they bring
have you ever stopped to think, what if that's the real punk rock?
Exactly, right? Exactly. Suddenly the straight lace is the radical, right? Yeah.
I mean,
but that's what happens.
It kind of read. I don't know. Yeah, like I have an 8-year-old boy, and I'm super happy to see all of these superheroes in these worlds. They're just like these dudes, and they're dudes who are just like, we're just trying to do the right thing. Yep. In the world, we want to be good. We know we're messing up, but we're trying to do the right thing. I'm like, that's all I wanted. I am kind of, you guys talked about with Superman. I am over maybe the good guys aren't all good and the bad guys have a point. Yeah. I'm like, I don't need this.
I don't need Thanos to be right.
We need to start labeling in our world. We need to know, in the world we live in, we need to name people who are the bad guys and be like, this dude's the bad dude and we got to stop him.
But isn't that where we are right now, in a place where you essentially have a president who is a felon, who is a convicted felon?
Yeah.
All of this is
superhero villain.
That's right. All of this is very much connected to the world we're at right now, the world we're in.
I mean, because I think
that's honestly why Superman is good, because for the first time, the world got so bad. I was like, oh, yeah, Lex Luthor could be president. In past comic books, I was like, he's evil, he's a criminal. Everyone knows he's a criminal. He's been bad forever. What the hell's wrong with this earth that would vote for Lex? And now I'm like, no, that could happen very easily.
But beyond that, I think that you talk about, the positivity and the trust being, the radical. I think that that sounds contradictory, but beyond Donald Trump being a felon, this and the other, the aesthetic of American fascism is nihilism and is cynicism, right? Yeah. So if you were to rebel against what is the current ruling ideology of America, it is positivity and trust and collective action. I think that's why, I think that in reality, yes, I don't think that they would trust her story immediately if she said all these things. But I do think that like it is in a way a bold storytelling choice, and I think it is a breath. I think people are finding it to be a breath of fresh air. Like I know,
Yeah,
like
exactly. It's a message pitch.
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
trying to say to you, "Hey, we've gone too far in this direction,
Exactly.
both on screen and
Yeah.
in real life."
yeah,
Yes.
and so I think
And
that
if we-
that's really nice.
Yeah, if we can't imagine a utopia, then no, we won't ever figure out what it looks like to all come together. Like if we can't
Right.
even do this in our superhero movies, what do we have superhero
Yeah.
stories for?
Right.
The 616 does need a little bit of a dose of optimism. So I
Yeah.
think
Absolutely.
I think bringing them to that world, like I'm looking forward to their interactions with. It's so funny because you guys mentioned all about the cuts from the movie.
Mhm.
I really would have liked to see, because you see the interactions with Mole Man were just hilarious. I would have really liked to see their interactions with all of the other villains.
Mole Man. I mean,
Yes,
I'm a huge Paul
yes.
Walter Hauser fan. I've had stock in that guy for almost a decade now. Unbelievable. I need to see him come back. I don't know how, but just the scene with him, like, sorry, Johnny, I didn't pick out your outfit.
That was so
Had me
good.
laughing.
That was so good.
The
Right.
fact that they
There's
went
one
with a
thing-
version of Mole Man that was like passable as a person, like he wasn't
Yeah.
dressed in ridiculous garb. He didn't wear that green like hoodie or whatever. Like
Mhm, with
and
the
it
3D
didn't
glasses.
feel like he never did it. It just felt like whatever he was now, he was no longer that
I mean,
guy.
it's like how the people who used to be soldiers in the IRA are now like Irish politicians. It's like time
Yeah.
passes, you become more normally put on a
Well,
suit.
You know what's really interesting about this entire conversation is that we've been going on for 1
Yeah.
hour, 6 minutes, and 20 seconds
Yes.
now.
Yeah.
And at no point have we mentioned the Silver Surfer. And
Yes.
as a character, I thought that was a very interesting
Mhm.
juxtaposition of what the original was,
Yeah.
and what they, in other words, you're also the bad guy, but are you the bad guy?
Mhm.
And they
Yeah.
gave away, in a lot of
Mhm.
ways, they gave away her origin story elsewhere. But I thought that was to the storytelling of having to trick Galactus because you can't beat him. That's the role of the Silver Surfer, that you get the Silver Surfer to sort of turn on the Herald.
Yes.
What did we think of the usage of Silver Surfer, and also just the vibe in general?
I mean,
I thought
let me say.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. You're playing point guard and you're not scoring enough. I apologize.
No, I don't need to score with a wonderful panel like this, but I'll just say, because my favorite scene in this movie is from the time they first meet Galactus and into the escape, because that was, to your point, Howard, earlier when you were talking about rising the stakes of the movie. That
That's
escape felt like you felt it happen. Also, Michael Giacchino, goodness gracious, with that score, he's just cooking on all the cylinders with that. So you have that great scene with them escaping, and the Silver Surfer, like, she's getting in there, and then of course they're having the funny back and forth with her and Johnny and stuff like that. I really like this performance. I like the vibe of Galactus. I think I was concerned of how that was going to look on screen, but I thought he looked great. I thought he was a boom.
Great voice.
Oh yeah, Ralph Ineson. Shout out to him.
Howard, have you ever heard the guy Ralph Ineson who plays him speak normally? Because they modified his voice so little. They just added reverb.
Yeah, exactly.
It just
And
sounds like that.
I hadn't, but one of my friends, movie critic Christy Lemare, was telling me, she goes, he sounds like that in real life.
Yeah,
anyway.
he does.
That's crazy.
And that was the other piece that hit me, though, right then and there, when they saw Galactus and you're trying to piece out where the shot is, and you go, oh, that's his head. Even they didn't go, look at the size.
That was a problem. I think that's a thing I didn't notice, but I think you're absolutely right, that they should have been more shocked. Yeah.
Who's ever seen that? He's got a head the size of Texas.
They did hightail it out of there. I'll say that much.
I think that's where, like, if we would have got a little bit more of a montage or interaction, I think someone brought up with other villains, then you might explain it more as these are some seasoned heroes that are not, like, they just think they can do it. They don't know how. They gonna figure it out. And they didn't have any of that. So, like, we don't even have like a at least something to look back and be like, well, yeah, he's big, but they beat up someone bigger, like an hour
Yeah.
ago. Like, yeah, you're right. So the awe isn't
Well, they did give a
conveyed.
nice shout out to the Fantastic Four cover. I think it's Fantastic Four number
Yes.
2,
Mhm.
where the monster is coming out of the earth. I thought that was a nice touch. But you're right. I mean, at some point it all comes back. I was telling my son and I were talking about this because we talk about this all the time. I was telling him, I was like, the number one role of fantasy movies, especially fantasy movies set on Earth, is awe and wonder.
Yes.
What would you do if you were walking down the street and you saw somebody flying?
Right.
You'd lose your shit, right? You'd be like, that person is flying. If you
Right.
don't give me that piece, you're going to lose me. It was why Andrew Garfield lost me. And he was just too cool to have those
Right.
powers. I'm like,
Yeah.
he doesn't seem all that phased by being able to stick to fucking wall, right? I mean,
that was the
it all
thing,
goes.
when you brought up Silver Surfer. She, for the first time in a while, gave me the vibes of almost like when Wanda was going through the multiverses, because I didn't think they couldn't stop her. Like,
exactly.
And it was like, and you got a boss? Like, what?
Yeah, and you have a boss.
I was really, really impressed with the performance because she has to convey so much authority, and it's like, I've seen Julia Garner. She is 5 foot nothing, 90 pounds soaking wet. Like, I think that when she's first introduced, so you talk about awe, I think it's actually really notable that we see this montage of them doing stuff, but when she flies down, everyone in Times Square is scared shitless. So she's clearly a level above anything else they've seen.
And also, she comes in, she's like, boom, your planet is over. Enjoy your loved ones. It's a wrap for Earth.
Right.
It's a wrap. Hug your loved ones.
Hug your loved ones, you know what I'm saying? And it's not with any malice or glee. Like, it's not played like a super villain. It's very much like matter of fact. This is what Galactus do. Her origin story made sense compared to how her vibe was. And then it was also the display of her powers. Because they weren't trying to fight her as much as they were trying to just deter her or survive her.
Deal with her.
And that shit hits. Like, I know we're deep in the MCU and we want to see the violence and we want to see the good guys who are going to hurt somebody. But there's something about a good guy who's using everything to just like live, to make it through.
Yeah.
Because it does raise the stakes because I mean, and maybe they did it too well. At no point did I think they could beat Galactus. Like, I was like, it's some sort of get him out of here. That's it.
You're never supposed to beat Galactus. You're supposed to deter him to go elsewhere.
Yes.
You're
and
supposed
then,
to convince him
he's tomorrow's
to
problem.
Elsewhere.
Yes.
Exactly.
And with Johnny changing her heart and her showing this, she finally displayed some level of guilt over like, damn, like, yeah, she made the choice. She's the one who would have let the baby go to save her planet. And she was inspired by the heroes that were going, not one life, not one. That's the right move. And there was something about that being the reason they won that hits at it being a family story. That's why I think, like I said, I get why how people feel, especially in this formulaic, these are the notes, this is what a hero film is. There's something fucking rock and roll about that not being this film. We just inspired people to do the right fucking thing and it worked, and that's it. You didn't get the big blowout fight that maybe no one got decapitated, and there's something doper about
that's okay
that
because it's too early in the process for that. We're not there yet. The question, but once again, you have to give me the very simple line from Superman 78. You've got me, who's got you? Right? I mean, because you're dealing with people with superpowers. I mean, and so I just always feel like I remember making a list one day of saying, what could you see that would give you a heart attack? Like, could you just say, what would you see that would be so awesome to you, so incomprehensible to you that it would just freeze you?
Very morbid.
And for me,
list.
But what I mean is that it's important to create that sort of awe.
Right.
Whatever that is, you need to answer that to give you that awe. To me, the two.
But I don't want to watch a superhero movie, Howard, and see my wife cheating on me with my brother. That's crazy.
I'm not. That took a turn. that would give you a heart attack.
Oh,
Man,
man.
so tell me you've been watching Tubi without telling me you've been watching Tubi. Right? What we got here?
I think
Right?
the clip,
No, I mean, it is to me where I'm like looking at it and I'm like, how would I feel if I actually, and these are my top two.
Mm-hmm.
If I ever looked back at the Earth, being in space and looking back at the entire planet, I would I'd lose my shit. Like I can't comprehend what it would be like looking at the planet Earth. And the second would be a goddamn dinosaur, like something that big. Could you imagine seeing something and that if you can create whatever you think that reaction would be, that's what I gotta feel when I see Galactus.
Yes.
Yeah. And you need the characters to feel it too on the screen.
Yeah,
that's right.
And because like even if you're gonna get everyone in New York underground, show someone in Fort Lee. You know what I mean?
That's right. Somebody watching on TV. Somebody going, holy you know what I mean? There's got to be, especially when you see that shadow going over New York. Yeah. I mean, they did such a fantastic
shot
job.
of the foot in the street.
That's right. Exactly. That was a Godzilla -1 looking shot.
I'm so cynical now too that I just watched Jurassic Park, the last one. And I was rolling my eyes at them still being awed by dinosaurs. Like when they're like, look, it's two brontosaurus. I was like, man, we seen a brontosaurus. Let's go.
Right. But, yeah, exactly. And so I always felt too, like at some moment, right, even your heroes, and that's why Infinity War was so damn good.
Oh, so good.
Because they knew they were going to lose. We can't win.
Yeah.
Right. And I thought that this movie, I don't want to say rivaled it, but it certainly did set those stakes. Yeah. When the being comes in on the surfboard and says, hug your loved ones.
Yeah. It's a wrap.
Your planet.
It's a wrap.
Speaking of superpowered people, because you did mention superpowered people, that baby, that little baby who was the
ass baby.
Yeah, it's Franklin.
Franklin Richards. This is quite the introduction to a extremely, and I mean extremely powerful character in Marvel Comics.
Well, very weird too, because you're doing this at the same time where, let's not forget, there's another character that we've already met who has a very, very good relationship with Franklin Richards, and it's Agatha Harkness.
That is correct. That is correct. So this was a question that was brought up to Matt Shackman, and he said he'd like to see it at some point. So I don't know if they get there. I think the most interesting thing, and we can dive into this now because I do the tag, because we could talk about Johnny and Ben to kind of close things out. But the tag, we finally see Doom with Franklin, and it was Robert Downey Jr. on set. They decided not to show his face, which actually I liked. I liked that idea. Yes. Let's leave that off.
Yes. You know why that's a good idea? Because then it does just become an MCU movie. If you show his face, the only shock the audience can have is that we know that's Robert Downey Jr. To this universe, there's nothing. The fact the man's in your fucking house touching your kid that's the needle drop.
I got I still get full body chills because she gets that Spidey sense go off, and then the whole shot goes dark, and the sound changes, and you're like, "Oh, fuck!"
And they haven't been introduced with Doom. They don't know.
Right.
They may know who Doom is, but we don't know if they know who Doom is.
Right. And I feel like of all the people to catch him with Franklin, Sue is the one that
somebody knows who he is.
Like of all the people to catch him with Franklin, Sue the one that'll throw his ass out that window.
Yeah.
Yes.
The thing that made me happiest though about that scene, and this is both a joke but also true, the fact that he had his mask in his hand, which means that thank the Lord, Dr. Doom is gonna have an actual mask and it's not gonna be fucking nanotech. I'm done.
Yeah,
I agree.
Actual mask 2026. And so the fact that he has an actual mask makes me so happy. And I love the fact, there's also the thing I think is so interesting about it is that Franklin is touching the fact that what they're doing is a sweet and intimate act. It's not something there's on its face, except the fact that it's a stranger. There's nothing sinister going on really at all.
Is it a stranger? Reed, is that your baby? I've been watching Tubi too much. Reed, is that your baby?
Right.
my question.
Wow.
I'm now speaking Latvian.
Did not know we were
Boom
going.
is the father.
But no, I think that that moment, that it's the fact that they don't need to do anything, that there nothing scary needs to happen.
All right, so
Can I throw one quick thing out here, just very quickly? And this was an issue, I think, in Thunderbolts a little bit, and certainly in Captain America. Are these trailers giving away a little bit too much?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
1000%.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's been a
You mean the
complaint. I've been
30 minutes of
complaining
trailers
online.
before the movie and the commercials in between the trailers as well? Yes.
Howard, I'll say this much. I've been complaining about this for months now.
Yeah.
When we get to, okay, after you do the second trailer, enough. I don't want to see any more. Don't do the 35-second video where you show the third act of the movie. I don't need to. I do not need to see that.
It was no reason to show Harrison Ford's face in those trailers.
Dog.
No, the thing about it beyond, and I think we can move on because this is a conversation we've had many times.
Yes.
But I think the thing about it beyond the fact that it spoils stuff, because like whatever, the thing about it is I think that even if general audiences can't articulate it, I think general audiences can smell the desperation of it. Like I think the general audience can tell. Like even beyond like that, there's like you can just, if you need to keep adding new content every week, that leads me to believe that you don't think the movie's gonna do well.
Yeah. When what I actually want is a press tour. I want to see Pedro Pascal at the chicken shop date place, flirting with Amelia What's Her Face. Like that's the stuff that I think the Superman got. It got me hyped for that.
Superman press tour needs to be studied by PR firms. I love everyone involved in Fantastic Four, but it was actually like in terms of the movies, I think Superman was better, but the press tour, Superman won in a TKO in the second round. Like it was not even close.
Well, some of them folks asking questions were not the greatest in the world.
So that's for another time. That could get derailed forever.
All right, so like I want to hit my own little nerd corner here because like as far as that tag is concerned. All right, so the Doom stuff. All right, so we know Doomsday, we know Secret Wars. Just based off of the fact that he's meeting Franklin now. Franklin, now we know, can revive people amongst the 5 million things that he can do. If we get to a point, well, it's clear that Doom has a plan. And Doom is going to have a very multi-pronged plan, it seems like. If Doom needs Franklin to quote-unquote revive somebody, I know of somebody who's currently dead in the MCU right now who could be revived. And that's right, Howard. You didn't watch Agatha all along. So Wanda Maximoff was confirmed dead in that show. So I think when we talk about multiverse jumping people with superpowers, creating realities, all this stuff, Doom probably wants to create his own world.
And don't forget that Doom has a time machine.
Doom has that. And also, who's currently kind of running time at the end of time? That's Loki.
It's Loki.
Mm-hmm. And they're saying that they think they want to like stop the multiverse thing at the end of this phase, bring it all back to one thing. And I feel like that's a prime kind of Doom plot type thing of like
I'm
gonna start. We need one universe where I run it.
Hickman run.
Yeah, we only need one of these, and it needs to be me in charge, and then the rest of y'all will get in line. Like I could see that being an overarching plot.
So, like, you bring in the Fox X-Men who apparently have Monica Rambeau in another universe. Avengers got to go get her.
I thought that the X-Men were in 828. They're in the same universe as the Fantastic Four.
No, they're not.
No, they're not.
They're not. Okay. The universe that now I don't remember which one. I'll have to look back at what the Marvel said when Monica Rambeau ended up there. But when she did, obviously she was with Beast and she was with her mom there, and apparently there's an Xavier there. So I think eventually the Avengers gonna have to go get her. And then you have this Doom now plot with Franklin to do whatever he's trying to do, which I think is to, create his own world. And this is kind of where the story begins. And then you start to see when the Avengers see who Doom is under the mask, they're going to be like, oh, this brings back the end of Endgame. Because they all saw him die. They all saw his face. Yeah, right, exactly. So this creates a different type of conflict. So even though we took a real wild, freaky turn to get here, I think now that we're getting here, it gets interesting because now Marvel got to deliver on this punch, this last punch before we get to whatever they decide to get to with the X-Men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Can
thought
we
that
talk
it was a
about Human
really
Torch?
good.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say I thought it was also a really good. I as much as I am a comic guy, I also think it's kind of great to depart from them. I think I think it shows a lot of confidence as filmmakers to be able to do that, because let's not forget, there's only really, if we're telling the truth, one or two superheroes who are actually rich.
Yes.
Right? Tony Stark is rich.
Get your
Warren
loan, Sam.
Worthington III is rich. The Angel is rich, right?
Did a speaking job.
Obviously, Professor X has a pretty nice mansion out there that he holds as a school. They've got all the toys. But the Fantastic Four, they're broke. Like Spider-Man, they are constantly being evicted from the Baxter Building. The public has constantly turned against them because they keep ruining the city. And this was a very refreshing look at them not running for their lives. And there was that moment where I sort of thought, before Sue talked the world down, I thought they were going to storm the Baxter Building, because that's how it used to go in the comics. It was like, okay, they couldn't pay their
What
rent.
are y'all doing?
Reed Richards could not pay his rent. And so I do like the fact that the filmmakers had had the courage to give them a different personality. Yeah. I also thought it was very interesting in this time of division that, knowing what's going on with Gaza and everything else, when, Ben Grimm goes to his place of peace to go see his prospective girlfriend, he's in the synagogue.
Yes.
I mean, I think that's something I think that they had more of that in the actual movie, because they made a point of, casting an actual Jewish actor to play Ben Grimm. And I felt like there is definitely meat on that bone, because I think that it is notable that, and I think it wasn't an accident when he was written, that, he in his own way was an outsider before he even became a rock man. But I wish that there was more of that stuff, not only because I really love Natasha Lyonne, and as I half joked in the Discord, but I really do mean this, the reason why Natasha Lyonne is really great casting as Ben Grimm's girlfriend is because, truly, the moment that you see Natasha Lyonne talking to him, I'm like, yeah, I absolutely believe that Natasha Lyonne would date a rock man. Like, I can, if you were to say to her, like, well, you're dating a rock man, she would say, what, a rock man? My last boyfriend was a DJ. This is way better. You know what I mean? Like, you can imagine her saying that. So, like, I'm half joking. Like, the thing I really appreciate is that, like, unlike going back and watching the 2005 one, the Kerry Washington having to be blind shit is just like, I know that that's comics, but that just feels so out of date. Yeah. And, like, I just like that they actually just gave him a person that he actually has chemistry with, and just had them talk like people. It wasn't, contrived. She didn't have to feel his rocks. But no, I thought that. But I will say,
I'm glad I didn't see her feel his rocks.
Right. Exactly.
I've done a lot.
And the thing is, one last thing I'll say about Ben is that I think that how you
that's why they call him the Thing.
Exactly. There's that they have I think that the moment you're talking about, Howard, where like the moments where Reed and Ben are arguing about like Reed being like, I'll fix you. I think that I wish that we got more stuff at the beginning, because from the conversation they had, like looking out the window, that feels like the thing you're talking about was a thing that has happened. That conversation we have them have is a conversation that's happened after they had the blow up, after they had the fight, and I wish we saw some of that. Like, I don't need to see all of it, because like that is, like, once again, I think that we've seen in every iteration of it. But like, I want to see some of it. But I like the idea that they're kind of past it. Maybe not really. Maybe there's still times where he's mad about it. But like, I do. If they're gonna jump 4 years in the future, I don't want it to still be a fresh wound, because then it just feels like, well, what's the point?
Well, it's an everyday wound for Ben. It doesn't go away. But I think, but it does go. It is in line with trying to create something. We don't need any more family feuds, right? Don't we have enough families fighting? It's like, okay, this FF is actually going to get along, because if you read the comic book and if you hop on, the Marvel Unlimited and go back and read the back issues, but I have them, so I remember reading them. Every episode of the Fantastic Four, pretty much every third episode was like, is this the end of the FF? Right? Yeah. Because that family did not get along.
There's always something going on. Always.
And the great thing now is that they can do that now, and I think it will have more impact, because we saw them get along. Like, one of the problems with the 05 movie is they're never really a cohesive family, and then they
Yeah.
try to do the break apart storyline. I'm like, you guys were never a family to begin with. There's no stakes
Right.
here.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
right.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. Jake, I know you wanted to talk about Johnny Storm. I thought Joseph
Yeah.
Quinn. I'll just go first,
Yeah.
quick here. I thought Joseph Quinn. Salute to him. I didn't know how that was gonna play, but I thought he did a good job, and I also thought that they wrote the character
Incredible.
very well. Did a good
Yeah,
job.
I
with
was
that.
surprised by him because I was not super. I didn't have super high hopes. I didn't love his character from Stranger Things. It's his vibe. He just didn't. He never gave off cool to me as an actor, as a person. Like he just didn't. Like he gave off like British actor with like his own suaveness, but like never cool. But I like that he. I don't know. The bits with him and the Silver Surfer were just really genuinely funny to me. The bit where he says like Johnny likes hot girls and Johnny loves space. He's gonna love a hot girl from space. Like,
Hot naked girl from space.
I thought that. The thing about it is that so much, one of the criticisms that Marvel movies get, which I think is apt, is that the humor takes you out of the movie. And the thing is, Johnny was like the major comic relief in the movie, but it never felt out of character. It felt like the jokes were based on him as a character. And that was really refreshing. Like it never, his jokes were not winking at the camera. His jokes were Johnny Storm saying something funny in universe as Johnny Storm.
Yes, I would agree. Rod, do you have any thoughts on Johnny? Anything that you want to add?
Man, I just really thought they really nailed that there's different types of intelligence, and him figuring out how to emotionally connect to that Silver Surfer that they could not beat was just like such a crux of the movie, and Sue supporting that was such a dope thing. Like, dude already kind of looked like RDJ to me in the face, so it's like he had a uphill battle to climb for me.
Think about that. Yeah,
he kind of looked like they cloned RDJ and they just never told us or whatever. And now, now that the MCU is in this iteration, it's like the clone release it. It's finally old enough. But he nailed it. He was funny, and I think it was interesting because like he was PG-13 funny, man. Like the Marvel thing kind of take you or like PG funny. The Marvel thing normally kind of take you to like this character's funny because they'll cuss, they'll like say the crude thing. All his stuff felt like he could still be on the front of a cereal box, but he's like he's a wild card, but he's not like he's not like trying to be a Mac. Like he's not like, oh, Johnny, he's got all the chicks and he's a wild partying dude. Yeah. Like he felt like your little brother in this family, and I think that's difficult to nail, but I think they did nail that archetype of him.
Yes, and Cecelia, what do you think about Johnny? Any thoughts you want to add?
I mean, I was so impressed that he did some really intense linguistics, figuring out and decoding a whole space language. I was like, I don't know what your background is. I don't know what degree you got, but this was like, I was so impressed with that. And it was cool to see. I was like, I never thought of him as like being smart at all, because again, he was kind of just like a dude along for a ride. So seeing him get to do that was really fun. And then him figuring out the uncle bit, I think, was also interesting, because there is tension with him and Reed, and that's kind of a constant thing, and seeing how that like sort of gets re-triangulated with the baby in the mix, I thought was really interesting. So I'm really excited about him and his character. I really want to see him interact with some of the quippier ones.
I hope him and Peter get a run.
I did just text an expert, by the way. I just texted Springthorpe, who has a degree in linguistics, and he said no, the linguistics are not realistic.
Okay. No.
Okay. I thought it'd be funny to ask him.
Oh no, certainly not. But it's impressive still. I mean, he did have more than one track. Like when he was like, I have this one track and now it will figure out her entire language. I was like, okay. But
the thing about the Rosetta Stone is it was a long ass paragraph, so there was more than just one phrase.
Right. And yeah, I don't know how long he sat with all that stuff either.
Also, low key, I felt like he was kind of the bravest. Like he was just flying in the battle, definitely. And like when he flew to space and it's like flames turned off, and you were like, "Buddy, there's no oxygen up there." What?
It's always like on the nose, but anytime like. But we have the shot that's clearly evoking, God and Adam, like the painting. Every time it's so corny every time that happens, but I'm always like, hell yeah, I see
it works.
It's cool.
Yeah,
It's cool.
most definitely. And Howard, any Johnny Storm thoughts?
Once again, question of courage. They redrew the character.
Mhm.
He's not the same guy. I mean,
Yeah.
The Johnny Storm of the Fantastic Four is the teen heartthrob who's incredibly immature, who's constantly rebelling and he quits the band every third episode, and but he's also relatively brave in the comic as well, in that he's the one who discovers Submariner, right? Back in Fantastic Four #4, he's the one who finds him.
Right.
He's the one who is he's the scout because he can fly, so he's not in the Fantastic car, so he's always the one going ahead and checking things out, but he's also the one who is mischievous enough to always get everybody in trouble. But I like the fact that they recentered him. He's not a Casanova. He's not a stud, right? He's not out there always chasing the girls and the glamour and the fun and the hot rods and all of those things, because that's what his character used to be. They made him somebody different. They made him, and I thought, he was much more muted as a character. He's just a different character. And I think that it's interesting for film audiences to watch him grow in a way that you didn't see him in the comic book.
Yeah.
They made him a type of character that if my kid wants to dress up as him for Halloween, I'll be like, yes, and not do this whole, well, you do know we need to have a conversation about how he treats women in this movie. Like, you can't just make a hot tub in the sun, in the snow. And like,
I think in a lot of ways, I think it is a response to the Chris Evans one. Which the biggest problem with the Chris Evans portrayal in 2005 is that that movie is so aggressively 2005 in a way that like explains why they wanted to go back to the 60s for this one. But that character is the most 2005. Like he fucking listens to hard rock and does an X Games shit. Like he is the most 2005 character in film.
1000%.
And so like I think that I don't know. I just feel like I think what you're talking about, Howard, with changing the characters, I think that when they change the characters in this, it feels like it's of a piece. And like the version of Johnny Storm that's in this movie fits in this movie in a way that like if you were to try to do a 1-to-1 version that was in the comics, I can't say for sure, but I don't know if it would fit as well. And so I like them adjusting it. Like if they just adjust for adjusting's sake, that's one thing. But if they have a vision of the film in mind and they make adjustments from that, I like that because that's what adaptation is. You know what I mean? Like I think that
it should be like, what is the point? What is the point of making it exactly the same as it was? When you listen to a remake, you want to hear somebody else's interpretation of the song. Yes. Why do the song exactly the same as the song?
Yeah.
So no, I agree. I mean, like for example, I think the worst reimagination, as you guys already know, I'm going to say it, is Charlie Cox. That's the worst because he's too violent. I mean, it's just not Daredevil. It's not Daredevil. I'm not going to go that far. It's just not Daredevil. It's not who he is.
Also, this summer, the Riz Lane was already occupied by Jimmy Olsen. So you can't have films come out 2 weeks apart where both of the guys are lady killers. I feel like you have to let Jimmy have the whole summer.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, but the best adaptation is what they did with Aunt May. They made her young. They actually made her age appropriate, because the question I've been asking my entire life is, how is Aunt May 127 years old? When Peter Parker's a 9th grader?
I know.
Right.
But you know what, I know this is another huge tangent, but you know what, Howard? You made me think when you brought that up, because I was like, that is a good point. But I feel like part of that is about how we value women, like physically in Hollywood and life now, and how obsessed we are with youth culture. Because there was something really rock and roll about a nephew defending this woman who could not defend herself. Like she was elderly. She was no one's girlfriend at that point. She was just on her. She was broke. He was broke. He was spending his broke money to keep her from being broke, and he was doing it all for some wheat cakes. Like it was something about that and the value of that type of person in our society. I feel like in a world where we're cutting off Medicaid and Medicare and stuff, it's like, die your old ass real. You don't do nothing for no one's dick gets hard when they see you. Just die, old lady. And I feel like we could go back to old Aunt May. I feel like we need to.
Oh no, I think if next time we do an Aunt May, we're gonna do. I assume we're gonna do that. I think it's a good. I like a good zig and a zag.
And we went too far. Aunt Mays have been hot for 20 years. We've gone too far.
Shout out to out to Rosemary Harris, who is still alive inexplicably. Just want to throw that out there. She's still with us.
Inexplicably.
Bring her back.
Truly inexplicably.
Yeah,
No, but anyway,
salute to her. Salute to her, guys. I want to go around the room for some final thoughts on the movie. Any lasting impressions as you walk away from this movie? Actually, Jake, I'll start with you on this one. When you walk away from this movie after having seen it, what is your like major takeaway?
my major takeaway is that it's proof that Marvel can do something self-contained when they have the parameters to do it. What was notable is that while this was not my favorite MCU movie, I got a text from my twin brother who said like he hasn't seen all of them. He hasn't seen like a lot of the big team up ones, but he's like, this is probably might be my favorite one I've seen because I think it's because it doesn't require anything of anyone. And I think that I think it's also proof that like, hey, you trust the director to have a vision. You know, because like while I think that this got edited too much by the powers that be, I think clearly there was a clear vision from Matt Shakman that was not like just what was so notable about it. And a couple shots stood out because it wasn't, but like they built a Times Square set. They built like the Lower East Side looking set. They built a gigantic like the Baxter building. So, like that all just felt like
and the coolest living room in the movies.
You just don't realize how much you value that and how that allows the film to have its own. It felt more tactile than so much recent stuff. Like it felt like you actually were there, and so I hope that inspires them to again be like, hey, let's give a director a year of pre-production. Don't have the script being rewritten 15 times. And just like let them actually make a movie. I hope that that's what we get after the rejiggering of Secret Wars, because like they can still do it. Like lo and behold, they still are capable of making movies that can stand on their own.
Yes, I would agree with that. Cecelia, how about you? What were your lasting impressions of this movie?
I mean, well, I will say the last thought I had walking out of the movie was that baby is gone, right? Like Doom took.
Oh yeah, most definitely. He got plans for that baby.
Is out of there, and they are like hauling ass into 616 being like, you guys, we got a grade A emergency going. So but I think my takeaway is actually kind of a general excitement, and these are the last several superhero movies, the Thunderbolts and Superman in this one, just the general kind of like hopefulness and
optimism
optimism, excitement. And also the kind of like, oh, that's right. Doing a good thing does actually still matter. Like it isn't totally futile. I think that is actually my biggest takeaway, maybe from like the summer or something. That's been biggest takeaway so far. And I'm really excited to see them get to 616, which is a total shit show. And
it most certainly is.
See what's going to happen there.
I think we need the optimism, quite frankly. I mean, we spoke about it on Superman. I think it's very needed. I think the way that we have been viewing everything that's been going on in the world kind of makes us view these movies in a little different way. And I feel like Fantastic Four, similar to Superman, had that same kind of effect on me as I viewed it. So to that point, I think that's a great point. Howard, how about you? Lasting impression of this movie?
Lasting impression is I'm excited again. Marvel fatigue is a real thing.
Yeah.
When you're looking at this going, okay, well, what do these stories mean anymore? And you know, if you're gonna, I know you liked it, AC, but if you're gonna go with these, these B, C, D level characters, I mean, Werewolf by Night, I mean, give me the A-list. Give me the A-list. Fantastic Four is A-list. And that was important to me. I think the other thing that I really liked about this movie, in terms of being excited again for what comes next, is also the fact that, if you have apocalypse every movie, then there's no such thing as apocalypse. Yep. Like you can't end the world every single movie, because then it loses sensation. And I thought that what this movie did a very good job of was, even though I didn't think it stuck the landing in terms of the fear factor, but it built the fear, but then eased it back that the world felt safe without being completely and utterly destroyed. Yeah. Right? The way that some of the other ones did. So it did a really subtle and smart move job of easing us back into the world of what's coming next.
Yes.
I thought that was very, very good of them.
Yes, the tension the tension in act from the end of Act 1 to Act 2 into Act 3 is really makes the movie what it is, and it really makes you enjoy it because you do feel that particular energy and the vibe change totally to where you're having the Sue and Reed arguments mean so much as they did with their relationship being involved. So I definitely agree with you on that fact. Rod, how about you, sir?
Oh man, I always got too much at the end. I'll try to go through fast as I can.
Oh,
Um,
please, please.
I love that this movie did not need the MCU. It's so funny because they went the opposite of all our
1000%.
expectations, which is like, you guys finally got the right to Fantastic Four. The first thing you want to do is pin them on the board. Where are they in the MCU? And their answer to that was like, that's not a fun movie. Is better than knowing what day this happened on, where, and how it affects whoever in other movies. And so something about that was cool. They swerved on that. I love the aesthetic. It felt like Lost in Space or something. And it really made me wonder, what would Reed Richards do with our tech? Like the MCU tech.
Yeah.
Which felt like it's ahead of his tech, but what he's done with his tech is like light speed travel. Like what could he do if he had access to nanobots or whatever? So I'm looking forward to that. He put a physical like cassette tape in Herbie. Like what would he do? Is my question with that.
Yeah.
That
I'm
was so cool. Though.
yeah. Like
Yeah.
I'm not just excited about what Doom is and all that stuff. I'm excited about what the Fantastic Four can be. Where do they go with these characters? I love that they weren't. To me, they weren't scared of the corniness of it, and I think you have to lean into that. Ben walking around, big like walking around town on the street with that big blocky, almost dirt looking. That just hit for me every time, even though it's such a small thing. Um, uh, I think they also kind of found a different way to tackle one of the things that Tony was about, which is like, what do you do when you bring a child into a world that's doomed? To
Yeah.
a broken, defeated world. It's like, Tony goes like she put the armor around the world. Once they lost, it's like, okay, well, it's over. Guys, get away from me. Everyone take care of their families. And Reed kept fighting when he couldn't see a way. Like Sue was the one that's like, you gonna figure it out. I trust you. So I like that. The acting from Sue is so crazy, just the body acting, because none of that shit was there. But when she
Yeah.
was pulling out Galactus and she like does this move and leans back,
Yeah,
and
she
you
talked
feel
about
like,
it. She said she had to go primal. Yeah,
No,
that's
I
bruh,
actually, I thought it was very interesting because she talked about Vanessa Kirby talked about how she wanted to make sure it was distinct from what Wanda does. And the thing that she pointed out, which I thought was like, this is why I like when you have like really serious actors take this on seriously. She's like,
yeah,
Wanda's casting spells. What Sue is doing is there's microwave radiation that actually exists. We just can't see it. But what she can do is move it. And so she's not casting spells. She is like moving things with her hands. She's actually like
yes,
affecting matter.
Manipulating.
And I think that like that distinction, it's like, that's such a silly thing to think like, oh, she's just in the middle of a fucking street doing this with her hands. But when you have the effects on, it doesn't look like she's casting spells. It looks like she's
yes.
moving radiation.
yeah.
Yes, and because they had her do something so astronomical, it earned her fainting spell. Because she got to faint. Like it's her, Storm, Jean Grey. They can't do their powers without fainting at some point. And like they took it to death. Like I was like, oh,
She died.
yeah, I was thinking
She
like
gone.
I was like, that's a different characterization. She's so powered up that she'll never even like be pushed enough to faint, and then bam, she faints, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's different. And then I think also Doom, I wonder when he's from, not just where he's from. Like I know he's from their planet, but if he can time travel, could he have gone to a time and seen how powerful Franklin is? Like, I gotta come get this fool when he's a baby. That would
Yeah.
be dope. And then the last thing I'll say is I hope the world heals in real life in a way that I can look back on this year of movies and be like, Rod, you were overrating things. You wanted to be so hopeful and optimistic. You were just clutching the Tom Cruise and being like, we need a world where we can trust each other. I hope I can come back and go, this movie's only a 7. I don't know why I thought it was a 9, but right now I need this shit. And so I don't have Marvel fatigue right now because I'm built different. Okay. It's not, they can't fatigue me. I'm gonna be on here to the last movie unless I die. So they better keep pumping this hope in my veins so I can stay alive and survive this Trump bullshit.
I feel you on that. The last thing I'll say on this movie is a couple things. One, salute to Herbie. 2.
Yep.
Shout out to the car seat scene at the end, because every dad who's put a car seat in a car has felt that moment. So that struggle, everybody struggling at the same time, was just like a really fun way to end the movie.
It was awesome.
Michael Giacchino again. I gotta say it. The score, the score. Like, this is how you really nail it. As the credits are playing, it's like you're hearing that song. Oh my goodness gracious! Talk about really cooking. That this guy he's on a heater.
In the last 5 years, he did a Batman score and a Fantastic Four. Man, no one's doing like him. Like, so deep in his bag, he's trying to grab the last French fry. I mean,
and most importantly, the job of this movie, you guys have mentioned in all your own ways, but get us to care about these characters in a way that we remember from when the MCU started through the first 3 phases. And they did that. We care about all 4 of them going forward. And I'm very interested to see how these characters grow and how they interact with their counterparts in the 616 when they see them, and then how they interact with villains too in the future as well. And I'm glad that Marvel kind of leaned into everybody's point as far as like keeping it to this. Get these guys over, make them feel like they're important. The marketing of this movie, I thought, was perfect from the beginning. Make it feel like a big deal. It was a big deal. We watched it. Now we feel good about where they are going forward. And now we could see what they really have for us in their big, their grand finale of this very, very long phase. So,
yeah, you know what you could call it? It's almost like the first step to unification.
Yes.
Because you're about to get X-Men back. You're about to get Fantastic Four back. This is like the end of the 90s. You've got, Spider-Man back for the most part. Yeah. So you're finally whole again after buying baseball cards.
Yes, and that's next. This is the last MCU movie until Spider-Man Brand New Day next July. Yeah. And this is where you put your big characters on the screen and show it to us and see if we vibe with it, and if so, I think they got a decent plan cooking. And then, like, to Howard's point, bringing in the X-Men, that's gonna be I like the director that they have for that, and I'm looking forward to see what he has for that. So I feel good right now. And then God forbid that they actually do the Blade movie. God forbid.
We're almost past the actual runtime of the Fantastic. We can't go into a Blade tangent now.
We will end on that note. There'll be plenty of time to talk about Blade another time. I want to thank our panel for joining us. Appreciate you guys as always. First and foremost, Cecelia, thank you. Where can we find you? Where can we follow you, my friend?
You can find me, socials in and out, I guess, but mostly on Instagram. If you just Google Cecelia Alfonso-Stokes, I'm sure I'll show up in places. And then I am currently working at a public humanities project with at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, their English department, and we have podcasts that'll be coming out of season 3 this fall, and I finally finished totally with the music and the ins and outs and everything first episode, so it's actually happening, and those episodes will be out. So if you're interested in conversations about texts, archives, and AI and how all of that intersects, it'll be pretty cool. So yeah,
the AI conversation is one that I always enjoy having, because these people are out of control with that goddamn AI. That's all I'll say. So I appreciate you going on that tangent. Howard, sir, as always, it's fun to get you back for these big episodes.
Pleasure. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you. Where can we find you, and what are you writing these days? I hear about a certain book that you're working on.
Yes, you can't find. I'll find you.
Cheers.
You can find me pretty much on Instagram, but that's it. Howard Bryant Books. January 20th, book number 11 will be released. It is a look at the Cold War through the lens of the great Paul Robeson and Jackie Robinson and their battle, July 18th, 1949, in front of the House Un-American Activities Committee.
Oh boy! That's going to be a barn burner.
Not relevant at all right now or anything.
They need a Sue Storm to come in and be the invisible hand for them.
You can also find me on what's the last project on Netflix on The Comeback.
As a Yankee fan,
2000.
I give you support and respect from that standpoint, but boy,
But you're not gonna
there
watch it, are
ain't no
you?
way in hell I ain't watching no 2004 thing. Let me tell you, boy. I lived that one
You know
time,
what?
and I'm not living it again. It's in my mind
Right?
forever. I suffered. I
There
certainly
you go.
suffered.
Well, look at it this way. You know what? Nobody feeling sorry for you.
Oh, definitely not.
You're the Yankees. You're the
Definitely
Yankees.
not.
Nobody feels sorry.
I totally
And besides,
understand.
right? Okay, you got 7 parts with the captain. You've got another 10 parts. My friend Jonathan Hawk is doing a 10-part Yankees doc that's coming out next year. I think you can handle
And
3
the
parts.
important thing to always remember is that Jeter caught that ball with 3 steps still in, and he jumped into the stands for no reason. He didn't have to do that.
By the way, just so
Yes.
you know, that play took place on July 1st, 2004. That is my son's birthday. I was sitting there watching
Wow.
that play
Wow.
while my wife had just given birth.
Damn.
Whoa!
I just like how the Boston accent jumped out of Howard as soon as the
Right?
Yankees came up. It was
Yeah,
out here.
There's two. I mean, there's all the place I notice is when the Yankees, and then whenever you talk about, I just love it. Marvel is when it comes out, and I always appreciate
There are
that.
certain words where you just can't help it, right?
I love
But
it.
I will tell you what is very funny about all that is that the night before, while she was in labor, it was Sox Yankees, and while she was begging for the epidural, they were all watching the game.
That's misogyny.
What a
This is patriarchy.
what a
That is-
time in 2004 was.
They
let
all
me
were.
tell you. Oh,
That
goodness.
wasn't patriarchy. That was Sox Nation. The nurses were watching the game. I was like, "Hey,
It
could
wouldn't matter
we
if it was
take
a
care of her
bullet.
over here?"
Yeah.
They were like, "Yeah, but there's one out in the 8th."
Oh man.
You couldn't have got
Oh,
shot a
man.
little sooner.
Exactly. Could you
I said, just breathe a little
exactly?
bit.
Yeah, she'll be all right. I'm like, no, she's not all right.
and,
There's another 100 more of these games.
You're still mad about Don Zimmer.
Poor Zim.
Poor Zim.
Rest in peace.
Yes. Shout out to Howard and Rod, of course. Where can we find you, my friend?
The Blackout Tips, that's my podcast. Everywhere you get podcasts. If you want to hear my thoughts on movies and stuff like Fantastic Four, the Blackout Tips spoiled movie reviews, where it's movie reviews, people who've seen the movie, don't ever plan on seeing the movie, or don't care about spoilers because we just spoil it right away. And and then my Twitter is still Rodimus Prime. I'm gonna outlive Elon Musk on there. I think I can do it. I'm built for this. I don't get Marvel fatigue or Twitter fatigue. I'm gonna take it to the end.
I mean, Rod, as long as you're still doing the Jason Whitlock bit, I'll be on there with you.
As long as he's doing that, and Jake. Yes, and Jake.
You can follow me on Twitter at the J Christie, on Blue Sky at J Christie. Still doing a TikTok every day at the J Christie. Some fun ones coming up. I have a friend of the show who stars in a show called Better Call Tej is coming up on it soon.
No.
I'm excited.
Each again.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm excited for that. So stay tuned. That hopefully will be this Saturday, maybe next Saturday.
Great times. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at AnthonyCanton_3. Follow the show on all platforms at MC University Pod. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the Patreon. All of those wonderful things. Appreciate everybody for listening, supporting, and watching. So for Howard and Cecelia and Rod and Jake, this is Anthony Canton III. This has been Marvel Cinematic University, and we will talk to you next time. The Fantastic Four are back, baby. Let's go.